Chris Connolly of Gunrunner, welcome to Hobart. Good to see you here.
Thank you. We're very relieved to be here.
And no shortage of dramas along the way, but a lot of fun as well, I gather.
We had mostly a really good race. We had one night of quite strong winds and big following seas, but apart from that, it was really good sailing.
And one little incident with the spinnaker pole, which looks somewhat the worst for wear. Tell us a bit about that, what happened there?
Sure. So we were coming downwind sailing with big swell behind us and surfing the waves and having a lot of fun, really good speed. And then the wind and the waves just kicked us sideways, and the end of the pole went into the water, and the pressure was just too much, and we bent the spinnaker pole in half.
And there it is for all the evidence we need. Yes. And that is not an uncommon scenario in poling out sails, of course, as well. Tell us a little bit about what happens next, because that's actually also quite important as a general lesson about when incidents happen in the middle of Bass Strait. What were your first moves there?
Sure. So I was on the helm at the time. So the first thing I did was make sure everyone was safe. Everyone was clipped in, of course. Yeah. And once I realised everyone was safe and the boat was stable, I got everyone to slow down and think and then act. Yeah. So I sent people forward. They were crawling and scrambling so that we didn't have a man overboard on top of a spinnaker pole incident. Yeah. And we just took our time, worked it through slowly, secured the boat, and then we got it sailing again. And then I think the next thing I did was, once the boat was sailing, I got everyone into the cockpit and we did a very quick debrief on what we did, what we could have improved, what went really well, and then we were just off and sailing again.
Yeah, and that's such an important lesson, isn't it? Because you so often hear about these escalating incidents. Mm-hmm. You know, one thing leads to another, and it's that point of being able to just hold enough, get everybody clear about what the next moves are, do nothing in haste, and then know that you can get back on the race course.
Oh, absolutely. And once I knew that everyone was safe and the boat was in a stable condition, we could take as long as we needed. It was a 5-day race. If it took us an extra 5 minutes to get the boat sailing, that's really not an issue. But much more important to be safe than to panic and try and rush.
Absolutely, and indeed, even despite all of that, I believe your fastest time, is that right?
We had a great race, so we think we came in 10 hours faster than our previous best, so that was brilliant, and we made it just at very last light on the 30th, so we were able to come in the last of the daylight, and we had an amazing reception here at Hobart.
Yes, I'm very sorry that we missed you when you arrived, but it was nice to see people streaming down to say hello to you, which is one of the wonderful things here, is everybody gets a great reception from top end to the bottom end of the fleet, yeah.
I agree, and obviously a lot of the focus is on the front of the fleet and the fast boats, but we really appreciate the attention we get from people like Bowcaddy Media to focus on us at the rear of the fleet, and often we have completely different conditions to the leading boats, and we really appreciate the welcome we get and the attention we get.
Yeah, well, thank you for the unsolicited plug, but just tell us a little bit about the boat, because that's just sweeping around here, Wendy. That's a very small cockpit. How many crew have you got?
So the boat's a Jarkin 925, so it's 9.25 metres long, or 30 feet in the old money. We have 6 on board, so we typically have 3 people on duty and 3 resting, and then we just swap. 3 is enough for most of the time. Occasionally we will pull someone else up if we need an extra pair of hands.
And then what sort of watches do you run?
We typically run 4-hour rolling watches, so every hour one person goes off watch and their replacement comes on. And a 4-hour watch is good because it means you've got enough downtime to sleep. We've tried shorter watches and you just don't get enough sleeping time.
Yeah, that's what I gather is sort of, the REM sleep. I love that. They say 4 hours is optimal for REM sleep. And you go, who gets REM sleep on a race like this?
No, good. Well, after about 2 days, you just sleep. You're so tired. In your 4-hour off watch, you typically get about 3 hours sleep. Yeah. So that's perfect.
That's great. So the last thing is, and you're talking about the sort of smaller end of the fleet, and I think one of the interesting things for us, and it's one of the reasons we love covering it, is you guys are out there for way longer than everybody else. You're probably getting a far greater range of conditions, and it's kind of epic watching, Azuro, Crux, Gunrunner, Currawong, all of you kind of battling it out and getting here then and enjoying the reception the same way that everybody else does.
I agree, and I think there's a lot of emotion in the smaller end of the fleet. Exactly. If you look at the boat, you can see we run on the smell of an oily rag. Our annual running costs are about the cost of one sail for the bigger boats. But it means that when we do get here, we've really done it ourselves, and the satisfaction we get from that is enormous.
Yeah, and props to the Army and the Navy, indeed, for getting people sailing. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and I would like to mention, Army does sailing for two main reasons. Really to build team cohesiveness and team working, but also for resilience. So taking people who've never been sailing before and introducing them to offshore sailing and then putting them on the Sydney to Hobart is fantastic for both small team resilience and individual resilience.
Well, look, we're looking forward to plenty more of this. Thanks very much indeed.